do you believe China is preparing, intending to invade Taiwan at some point? And what warnings did you issue to President Xi if he were to take such action?
Well, to answer your first part of your question, I absolutely believe there need not be a new Cold War.
There you have it. You have President Joe Biden discussing his meeting with China's President Xi Jinping. And he has a simple yet important message for the American people, a message that I was hoping we would hear from Biden. I absolutely believe there need not be a new Cold War. Let me read that again. I absolutely believe there need not be a new Cold War. Now, this was following a 3-hour-long meeting that President Biden had with the president of China. And it was the first time they met in person since Biden was elected as president of the United States. Both presidents luckily stressed in their opening remarks the importance of face-to-face diplomacy. Yes, more of that, please, and expressed hope that they could get the US-China relationship back on track in a more diplomatic way. Now, this was, again, the first time that they met. They've had 5 phone calls ever since Biden was elected. The last time they met in person was actually in 2017. Now, this message of diplomacy is certainly a welcome message considering the brewing tensions between the two global powers. Biden said he did not believe a Chinese attack on Taiwan was imminent. While Xi had recently consolidated power in China, Biden said that, quote, I didn't find him more confrontational or conciliatory. I found him the way he's always been, direct and straightforward. And we have a few more details from Biden in regard to his meeting with China's president. Let's watch.
It was clear, he was clear and I was clear, that we'll defend American interests and values, promote universal human rights, and stand up for the international order and work in lockstep with our allies and partners. We're going to compete vigorously, but I'm not looking for conflict. I'm looking to manage this competition responsibly. And I want to make sure that every country abides by the international rules of the road. And we discussed that. The One China policy, our One China policy has not changed. We oppose unilateral change in the status quo by either side, and we're committed to maintaining the peace and stability in the Taiwan Straits. It was also clear that China and the United States should be able to work together where we can to solve global challenges that require every nation to do its part.
So just 2 more statements, one from Biden, the other from President Xi. Biden says, the world expects, I believe, the United States and China to play a key role in global challenges from climate change to food insecurity, and for us to be able to work together. The United States stands ready to do just that. Now, I'm gonna explain why I believe this message of diplomacy is sprouting from the meeting that he had with the president of China. But first, here's a statement from President Xi. He says, China-US relations currently face a situation that is not in the interests of the two countries, their peoples, or the expectations of the international community. As the leaders of China and the United States, we must take the helm and steer the bilateral relationship in the right direction. So what is the motivating factor behind this diplomacy? Honestly, I think it's because of the investments US business interests have made in China. I'll give you more details into that in just a moment. But nonetheless, I think the message of diplomacy is a good one and a welcome one. Cenk.
I actually think Joe Biden's done a pretty good job with foreign policy. Maybe even excellent. So he withdrew from Afghanistan despite the entire establishment not wanting to leave. They pummeled him for withdrawing, but that was definitely the right move. No one gives him credit for that. They should give him a ton of credit for it. Number 2, the Ukraine war so far has been handled brilliantly, in my opinion. He's gathered up all the allies. They're on our side. Russia's reeling, yet we have not had too many downsides to it other than what was inevitable with the gas prices going up. That was just the nature of the war and he had nothing to do with it. In this case with Xi, I think he's striking the right tone. He's not being overly conciliatory, but at the same time, he is not needlessly antagonistic. Pelosi did not do a good job, and when she went to Taiwan, it wound up creating more hostility, and Biden is now bringing that down, which is the exact right thing. and we need to be able to be firm with China while still facilitating trade. And the more trade that we do, the less likely we are to have a physical conflict, because that will stop the trade and hurt both economies, and China knows that. So far, I would say really good work by Biden on this count.
Yeah, I think this meeting was an important one, and I'm happy with Biden's messaging following the meeting, right? The thing with Biden is sometimes when he speaks off the cuff, without thinking ahead of time, without thinking before he speaks, he says things that could actually lead to more tensions, and that has happened with China before, where he made it seem like we were going to invade China if it invaded Taiwan, for instance. In this case, he is being conciliatory while also noting that the United States is against the one China policy, which of course China wants to have control over Taiwan, and the United States is against that. But I think a lot of this diplomatic talk does stem from the fact that we are still, like, our economies are intertwined. We still rely heavily on China for trade, as you mentioned earlier. And Janet Yellen, who's the Secretary of the Treasury, actually just gave the whole game away, in my opinion, with her comments. So let me give you her statement. She says this: the meeting today is intended to stabilize the relationship between the United States and China and to create a more certain atmosphere for US businesses so they understand what to expect. And then she says later, quote, "We want a more secure and more resilient supply chain, but certainly over a wide range of commercial activities and US firms doing business in China, that's certainly not something that we are intending to hamper," right? So I think, again, US business interests being heavily invested in China has a lot to do with the more diplomatic tone following this meeting, but I don't care. Like, diplomacy is the way to go. We don't want another Cold War, and I think it's important for Biden to say that, and he did say that clearly.
So last thing on this is, look, Joe Biden serves the corporate world pretty much 100%. So that's our issue with him. So you heard me giving him credit on foreign policy. On domestic policy, that's why he never passed anything that really winds up helping you guys. If it does, the first giant corporations get the money, and then maybe it trickles down to you. That's neoliberal policies 101. So, but in this case, it's terrible when they let the corporations write our trade agreements and outsource all of our jobs, and Biden is in favor of that. But we're not doing that right now. That was done earlier, unfortunately. But the corporate world, the one upside is they want stability in the world so they could do more business, because violence and war winds up preventing business and costing them money. Now, it doesn't cost every industry money, and ironically, we now have a battle not between countries anymore, but between companies. So the oil companies and the defense contractors want more war because they make money from more war. But all the other businesses lose money in wars, so they don't want war. So they're kind of battling to bribe US politicians more amongst each other. And this shows you that all the other corporations are now beating the defense contractors and the oil companies and saying to Biden and other establishment Democrats, bring it down, okay? Let's not have any further conflict and talk of conflict. Let's stabilize things so that the markets can go back up, trading can go back up. And in that rare case, that is a net positive. So we'll take it.